Hi Flosstube, I hope all's well. My name is Kirsty, Crafting Kirsty here on Flosstube and also on Instagram. It is, I'm going to have to look at my notes, I'm sorry, it's Tuesday, June the 20th, and this is Flosstube number 21. It's been about 10 and a half weeks since I last recorded a video. I'm sure you've all survived. But yeah, I've just been busy, having fun and working. So if you're new here, hello. This is a video where I'm going to talk about cross-stitching, quilting, knitting, crochet, all the things I've been either doing or trying to do or trying to learn over the last few months. I've lost my train of thought already. Out of practice. So I think last recorded in the middle of April, as I said, about 10 and a half weeks ago. And I think April was just very quiet for us. We had all three children home from their respective universities. They had sort of, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. And then there was actually only one day when everyone overlapped and didn't have anything on. So we just had a quick family day out. So that was all very nice. And then the first May Day bank holiday, we always go up to Derbyshire up near Bakewell. All of John's family go up there and do a couple of walks and all the rest of it. So that was very nice. The second bank holiday, which was actually for the King's coronation, I went down to Bath and went to badminton, 3-day event with my sister and one of her children. I stayed at my daughter's student accommodation or student house, which was great. It's in Bath, it's, a fantastic location. So we could walk into Bath in the evenings and have a few meals out. And yeah, I turned up on the Saturday, just in time for the actual official coronation part, all this sort of in the church, in the cathedral. And she had sort of said, oh yeah, we'll probably watch it. And as I went down into the kitchen, they had bunting up, Union Jack tablecloth, Prosecco, scones and avocado toast. And that was lovely. And then we sat there and watched it. And actually, the majority of them are either anti-monarchy or really couldn't care less. It was just any excuse for a glass of Prosecco at 11 o'clock in the morning. So that was lovely. So that was a good weekend spent with my sister and one of hers and a boyfriend and mine and her boyfriend, charging around badminton. So that was good fun. Very wet, but we had a good weekend. And then I think John and I hit about 3 weeks of black grassing, which is essentially walking up and down green wheat fields, pulling out a green weed that there aren't any sprays commercially available that will kill it anymore, unfortunately. So we do it by hand. So we've had very warm weather here, hence the tan, to be quite honest with you, even with a hat. Although I did at one point, I was tanned to here and then it was paler skin up here. So we had about 3 weeks of that. We had a week away where we went down. John is walking the southwest coastal footpath. I'm doing bits of it with him. I don't like walking in the heat and I don't like walking when I can see water and it's warm enough to be in the water. So we did the new key to St Ives part of it this time. And he did the walking and I beach hopped and he just walked and met me on the next beach. Where we'd have lunch and spend the afternoon on the beach. So that was absolutely lovely. Fantastic weather. I had a surfing lesson that I wasn't very good at. I could sort of pull myself forwards and onto my hands and knees, and then it was actually trying to get the legs up underneath me that I wasn't very good at. I think I got my legs up at one point, but I then couldn't let go of the board. So I sort of ended up just going in like a crab sideways with the instructor going, stand up. I can't, I'm just gonna fall off. But yeah, so that's quite good. And then came home, did another week's worth of black grassing just to go around and tidy up the last few stragglers. And then we disappeared quickly down to Margate in Kent. And John just about walked from Margate round to Dover, I think. I stayed in Margate, so I stayed in Margate the first day and just sat on the beach for a little while. And then I went and met him in Sandwich, which is a very, very pretty port. Lots of lovely old buildings and history. And then the next day I had a paddleboarding lesson in Margate Harbour, which was really good, really good. That was great fun. And then I went and picked John up from Dover and we actually ended up sitting on Folkestone Beach for the afternoon. because we just wanted to avoid all the traffic coming out of London. So we just sort of sat there and had supper and left a lot later, so we didn't get back till late. And that's been about it really. So yeah, so lots of work, lots of holidays, lots of good fun. Children all home from university, doing various bits of work. Yeah, so life just keeps on going really. Right, let me get on with it. Cross stitching. What do I have to talk about? Well, the first things I have to talk about are 2 finishes. So the first one is I have finished Christmas Pudding by Emma Congdon, who is also Stitch Rovia, and this can be found on her Etsy. Is it Etsy? She has a website. I think it's probably an Etsy website. But yeah, so you can find this pattern on her Etsy website. I haven't done a few little doodads in the corner because I couldn't be bothered. But there we go. That is it. It is all finished. As suspected, once I only had a few of these, and once I sort of started them, whipped them out quite quickly. It was all good. This took quite a lot of time. But yeah, so that's finished and ready to be fully finished for Christmas. Might not be this Christmas, but it will be fully finished for Christmas. And then I also finished, you'll be very pleased to hear, the Merry Christmas by Owl Forest Embroidery. So I've done nothing but whine about this piece, mainly because of the fabric. I was just really struggling with the fabric. And it was a case of once I'd finished, everything went in the bin, including the threads. I was just like, that's it, I'm done. So we've got Merry. Hopefully, this is where I hold up to the camera and realise I've missed a letter out. But we've got Merry. Ignore that bit there. That's why I had the stupid idea I might try and do it 1/1. As you can see, that didn't last very long. And I might have to stand up for this one. All right. Stand up without pulling the quilt off the back. And then we've got Merry. Oh. So there's the Christmas aspect of it. So yeah, I'm really pleased that that's now finished. I know how I want to finish it. It's just a case of getting around to doing it. For those of you that have stitched, you'll notice that there's the yellow thread that's in amongst all the letters. Sometimes there's the diagonal that goes through the red. Well, the first letter I did, I didn't register that, so I've just carried it on as it is. What's that there? Oh, that's all right. I've finished it. Yep, so there we go. So those are my 2 finishes. I think I basically just spent the entirety of April stitching on those 2 bits just to get it done. I'm sort of having enough, particularly of this Merry Christmas piece. I think I started this a while ago now. And yeah, it just needed to get done. And I have a little book with my notes in it that I started at the very beginning of the year. I did a big video all about my 3x3, how I'm dividing up the year, the projects I want to achieve, the time frames I want to achieve them in, etc, etc, etc. And I will bring that out probably in my next Flosstube, because that will be just over half the year. And I'll only bring it out because I know I've got things to tick off. If obviously I hadn't kept to it, it would just be put quietly in a drawer, never to be seen again. But because I can be smug and tick things off from it, I will bring it out. But those 2 were quite a major part of it. So I'm pleased to have got those finished, just because I wanted to get them finished and because I'm sticking to my plans. So the next piece, so that actually left me with only 2 pieces of cross stitch that I had planned for this time. The first of which I'll show you. So this is the Huntsman from Scarlet Letter. Love this piece. So this is full coverage, but it is very stitch by or cross stitch by numbers, because they're just big blocks of colour. And I thought at the beginning of the year, I decided that I was going to try and get the majority of this section outlined, so that in the summertime, in the nice weather, I can just sit outside, don't need the chart, only need sort of 1 or 2 threads, and I can just start filling things in block by block. So I did get all the outlining done, and I've started to fill things in block by block. So this tree was done. I filled in this tree. I think the bird was done. So I finished the clouds. I've done the flower, starting to fill in the tree. I'm now running out of numerous threads. But yes, and then I've done quite a lot of the blue background as well. So my cunning plan is coming together. This is easy enough to see when we go on holiday. So when you don't have fantastic light, I can still stitch on it, which is really good, and I'm enjoying stitching it. So I would like to, by the end of the summer, have that filled in. So basically, this sort of top third, I would like to have it all finished by the end of the summer. And then whether I put it down or carry on, I don't know. I will see. But yeah, so that is a cunning plan that is coming together. And then the final piece I have worked on is my Morris Dancer by GigiR. It's adapted Maria Cooper sampling 1790. So this is a piece I'm doing as a stitch along with Elaine of Ellie Welly Stitcher, Janet of Janet _Dodd, Penelope _Pins, and Chris _Hind, or Bronte Stitcher on Instagram. So 4 of us were at the Essex Needles Retreat March 2022, and we all bought this pattern at the same time. We then decided to start it on in the May of 2022, and I've decided that this is my focus piece, and I would like to get it finished by the end of September, beginning of October, when I go to the Great British Sampler Weekend in Swindon, organised by Hands Across the Seas, Nicola Parkman, and a couple of other ladies. Yeah, so I just thought I'd give myself the goal of trying to get it done. And, let me just... So this is being stitched on, everything else has basically been, all the call for colours, DMCs, blah, blah, blah. So this is being stitched on, I think this is 27 count Linda. It's just a plain white. I'm using the DMCs. And I think since the last time you saw it, hang on, I've had to go back and have a look, and I've had to write down. So the last time you saw it, I had the majority of this side done. I just had to do the bird and the crown. Then I went up and did the heart, filled in the 1/1 wording. I then went to the cherub. He hasn't got his trumpet yet. I've worked all the way across. So this is all new. And I've bought the border across the bottom as well. I have got other aspects of it done. So yeah, coming along nicely. I haven't actually worked on it much for the last couple of weeks. So I will, because I've just been sitting on doing the Huntsman. So I'll bring that back out now and start working on it, because it's a little bit of a crunch time to get it done before. So where are we now? Middle of June, July, August. Yeah, so I've got 3 months, just over 3 months to get it finished, but it's quite a busy 3 months for us. But yeah, I'm sure. Well, I'm sure I will, and if I don't, I don't. I forgot to take a photo of something, so I'm just going to look something up really quickly. So plans-wise for cross stitch, excuse talking to the top of my head, I am going to continue working on, for the moment, the Huntsman, and also the Morris Dancer, obviously, to keep that going. The Huntsman I'll probably carry on. Oh, good Lord, what am I doing? Sorry. Huntsman I'll carry on until about the 7th, 8th of July, and then I'm going to have a new start. And it is, let me just find a quick picture. Hands across. See. So as I said, I'm going to the Great British Sampler Weekend at the back end of September, organised by HATS, Hands Across the Seas, or Hands Across the Sea. I don't actually own Hands Across the Sea chart yet. I like a lot of them, I've just never actually got round to buying one or stitching one. And so I have decided that I am going to start, this is Elizabeth Beaven, 1835. I've got to order it yet. I say that, I've got to order it yet. So this is it. It's absolutely lovely. It's quite a large verse in it. Which I'll probably do. But the border, if I can get a little bit closer in, the border is sort of the zigzag border, and it has so many different motifs and animals in it. There's a wonky donkey in the middle. Blues in it. I do like blues. People with chairs in the corner. Yep. So yes, I need to order that, and then that will be my start. So I will carry on with Huntsman until I start on this, and obviously the Morris Dancer I will just keep on going throughout. So that basically is the plan for my cross stitching, and that's the end of the cross stitching segment. Sorry, because I've not got many things to work on, I can't talk all that long about it. So if that's all you're here for, thank you very much. And I will see, I hope to record probably in the middle of July, because then that'll be it until September, beginning of October time. And I'll be able to show you, hopefully, my start on Elizabeth Beaven. So if you're not staying for the rest, goodbye, and thank you very much for joining me. Right, so we'll go on to quilting because of this monstrosity behind me. Yeah, I'll just move out of the way of my chair. So this is finished. It's not fully finished. I haven't done the batting, or I haven't made the quilt sandwich, I haven't quilted it, etc, etc, but the actual quilt top is now finished. And this is Lady Tulip quilt from Laundry Basket Quilts, Edita Sitar. This was the 2022 quilt along, monthly quilt along that they had going. I obviously received everything by post. I had absolutely no issues whatsoever. I didn't get any custom tax charges, and everything turned up on time, everything was there. I ordered the laser cut pieces because I thought I'd give those a go, and they're absolutely fantastic. And again, all of the blocks I got, there wasn't one piece missing, you know, absolutely nothing. Obviously, good day, sorry, I can see out of the window and there's magpies flying around. Obviously, with the laser cut pieces, you get less opportunity to make mistakes. I did very nearly trim one block up to then realise I'd done it wrong. Fortunately, I hadn't trimmed it so I could take it apart. So that's the only word of caution I would have if you're using these, if you go for the laser cut pieces, is you don't have that wiggle room. You know, if I'd have cut the block to size, realised it was wrong, I then wouldn't have been able to remake it. So you do just need to think twice. Take a chill pill. Sit back and look at it before you cut it. So it has this big centre, don't particularly want to touch it because it might fall off the thing, but it has this big centre motif here. Yeah, I can't really touch it. It's just this huge square. And then each of these blocks, there's 3 of them. So you made 3 of each individual block. You had 3 blocks a month. You made 3, so you made 9 blocks a month. And then you did the sashing, and then you put it all together. And I did put it all together as the layout that she suggested. Absolutely love it. I had this hanging up against the window when I first finished it, and it really did look like a stained glass window. There's a rabbit now running through my flower bed, which is a bit of a stupid rabbit because there's vegetables all the way down the other end, but anyway. Dog's a bit useless, isn't he? Anyway, sorry, the quilt, yeah, hanging up against the window, and it looked like a stained glass window. It was so, so pretty with the sun coming in. The only issue with it was that you could, every now and again, you could see the 1/4 inch seam, which is absolutely fine, and it did look like the sort of lead in the stained glass. And then every now and again go off at an angle because obviously I'd twisted it where I'd wanted, couldn't quite fit it together properly. So it's a bit annoying to be able to look at that, you know, look at those and then go, oh yeah, I twisted it there, or oh yeah, look, it's changed direction there. But anyway, so lovely, lovely, lovely quilt, very happy with it. Just actually now need to get it finished, really. So with the kit, I also got enough for the binding. Yeah, I got enough for the binding. Oh, I got material for the binding. There was leftovers of the sashing. This is the binding. Clearly labelled, which is always helpful. And yeah, it's been good fun to do. It was really good fun to do. As I said, you do just have to double check everything. And then I went to the Malvern Quilt Show, which was at the back end of May. And I bought this as the backing fabric for it. And it doesn't look great there, but it looks better in real life. It's quite good. I also bought this backing for my Etoile Rouge quilt, which is just a red, green and gold quilt, Christmas quilt. So that's the Lady Tulip and the backing. Jane Austen quilt. So I am supposedly hand piecing Jane Austen quilt. Now, I love the layout, love the design. Initially was going to do it with the colours suggested, wasn't loving those so much. So bought, I had bought a fat quarter bundle of French General Bon de Jour, used that with a few extra French General fabrics thrown in to get a few more colours in. All was going well, and I was changing it, saying essentially the whole quilt in the middle of the quilt is made up with these sorts of blocks, and these should all be different colours. And I was just doing it so I had pink ones, brown ones. I was going to do ones in, sorry, I've just got to be a bit careful because these are all labelled with various things. I was going to do ones in reds, and yeah, so basically just working through the fat quarter bundle, but sort of having blocks of colour rather than lots of different colours. So I managed to finish all 4 browns and all 4 pinks. So I was like, woohoo! So I've got browns, as you can see, I'm fussy cutting the middle bit. Trying to fussy cut some of them, because some of them are called for to be fussy cut, some of them aren't. It's a whole thing. It's not just a quilt. It's all symmetrical, left to right, top to bottom, blah, blah, blah. So I got to the point where I'd finished this, and I looked at the brown blocks of where I was going to put them within the quilt, and I realised I hadn't used the right length of sashing at one point. So I don't know if you can see, can't see very well here. Some of the sashing comes in and it actually goes into the outer border. And I hadn't accounted for that. So rather than just, oh, and I also had to cut bits in, yeah, so I actually then realised I was going to have to cut this in half and blah, 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 and yeah. So, of course, at that point, I just said, right, I'm completely rearranging the whole quilt, as you do. So I've gone through all my French General fabrics, and I have tried to a certain degree. So let me just have a quick look in here. Sorry, I didn't really get this bit particularly well. Here we go. So this basically, in the middle, there's 30 different fabrics, and this basically tells you, so you've got like a large floral on a brown background, and you need about 20 centimetres of it. Or you've got a medium print, toile print on cream background, or pink and tan flowers on a beige background. So she goes through all 30 fabrics that are in the original Jane Austen quilt. And if you want to make it as close a replica as you can, you would follow this. I'm not, because I'm going down the French General route, but I am still trying to follow this with regards to small prints, medium prints, large prints, the different coloured backgrounds, and fussy cutting certain sections. So I have gone through the entire Fat Quarter bundle now, and I've organised, labelled all my prints, and where it says FC on it, that's fussy cut. So you can see here I've got, so in some of the, you know, so in sort of one block now, 1 9 diamond block, you could end up with this, I don't know, a red, 2 or 3 of these, 1 brown. So that's the way I'm going to try and do it. Right. These aren't completely redundant. I can take these apart because a lot of these I have chosen within this basket anyway. So basically all of that to say that having started, I'm now restarting Jane Austen quilt. We'll get there one of these days. And I did start this actually with Penelope Pins on Instagram. And she has the kit, so you could buy a kit. I don't know if it was Moda. Can't remember who bought the kit out, but she's got the kit. So it'll be interesting to see what hers looks like when I see it, when she started it. So that's the Jane Austen quilt. The 4th quilt, well, 3rd that you're actually going to see, is the Caution Curves Ahead by Jen Kingwell. I don't know if I've got a picture of this either. So this is a monthly quilt along that started in December. I think it started earlier for other people because I believe she is in Australia. So I think they had it earlier. We're getting it a bit later. It won't be finished till December. Each month through the post, you get 1 applique block and 1 pieced block, but it's all basically curves. And I thought, well, I'll give myself a challenge with that. Didn't realise quite how much of a challenge it was. Caution Curves Ahead, Jen Kingwell. So I'm just trying to find a picture for it to show you. It's on my very old iPad that doesn't really want to. Right, here we go. So this will be the finished quilt when it's eventually finished. When it's eventually started, but when it's eventually finished. So all curves and yeah. I didn't like the fabrics I was receiving through the post, so I've asked not to receive those anymore, which is absolutely fine. And I am using a whole load of laundry basket quilt Edita Sitar fabrics that I have shown in previous ones, and some neutral backgrounds. If you've been watching for a while, you know I decided that I was going to try and do the applique needle turned. Struggled with that. Didn't necessarily struggle with the needle turning part, struggled with the, well, certainly with that placement because it's not supposed to be there. Struggled with the placement and the setting, and just, yeah, it wasn't working out well. And then eventually a lady said to me, why don't you try the Laurie Holt form of applique? So I watched hers. It's very interesting. And you buy some sew-on interfacing, and essentially you make a pillow. So you sew it on, slip the back, turn it through. So I found that worked really, sorry, this isn't ironed. I found that worked really well on the bigger pieces. I'm quite happy with the way those look. The smaller pieces, I had a hell of a job. It was just, I just kept on poking it through. And on the machine, as you're sewing it in, I couldn't get a neat enough line around the edges for what I wanted. So eventually I ended up with these two, I think it is. I don't think I've done it on any others. I've ended up going back to the good old fashioned heat and bond. So I think going forwards, I will use a mixture of heat and bond for the smaller pieces, or, you know, Laurie Holt's plique method for the bigger pieces. I have quite a bit of heat and bond. I have quite a bit of sew-on interfacing. I think it's called sew-on interfacing. So that's all good. But at the moment, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 attempts at the first block to eventually get to find a method that I think, okay, I can actually get. I'm not a perfectionist in any way, shape or form, but there is a line that I'm just like, you know, I'm not happy with that. So yeah, so I've got 7 of those. Still haven't actually completed the first block, either the applique or the piece block. So yeah, so that's that. But I will obviously now, having got this one finished, I will now be able to concentrate on these two, the Jane Austen and the Caution Curves Head from Jane Kingwell. So those are, or that is basically my quilting. Oh no, sorry, I did, so as I said, I went to the Malvern Quilt Show. I bought the backing fabric and I didn't buy much else, to be honest with you. I haven't, John might argue otherwise, I haven't really bought much all year. I think at the beginning of the year, I'd had stuff like hidden around the house in various drawers I knew John was never going to look at. And I put it all into my eldest daughter's room, just on some shelving. And I don't have, you know, I can't open a quilt shop, but I have more than enough at the moment. Ditto with the cross stitching. Yeah, I think seeing it all together in one place, I've not said, oh, I'm not going to buy anything this year, but seeing it all together, I think actually I do have quite a lot. And I always like to buy a book when I go to a quilt show. I think you can't go wrong with a book. But I was going up and down in a huge, great big bookstore they have there. You know, they're all lovely, lovely books, but I was thinking, I've got 5, 6, 7 books sitting at home I've barely done anything out of. You know, so yeah, so I'm just on a bit of that mentality at the moment. So there's not a huge amount of haul, but I did go to another quilt show just up the road in Spalding. Very, very small, but absolutely fine. It's 10 minutes up the road. And I came away with some Dutch heritage fabric. So this came from Sunflower Fabrics, and it's a pack of 10 fat eighths. Fat eighth measures approximately 50 centimetres by 28 centimetres. And I bought this little pack. So I really like my Civil War fabrics, and I just like the tones of them. And I think for a lot of it, for me in particular, a lot of it is about the particular tone of fabric and also about the actual pattern on the fabric. But I've always liked these brighter colours as well. And actually, having bought them home, they do, I'm not going to say they blend in, but they do mix quite well with a lot of the sort of Civil War fabrics that I have got, or the tone and colours of fabrics that I have, which is quite exciting because there's lots of lovely, lovely, pretty Dutch heritage fabrics and lots that you can fussy cut. And yeah, so I don't really have a plan for this yet. I just bought it. Also to see if it mixes in with the fabrics that I have already. And then the other thing I bought was Essex Canvas Yarn. This again is from Sunflower Fabrics, and this is a fat quarter, 55% linen, 45% cotton. And so I bought this because I thought it was quite nice background for either, you can't, so if I fold it over, you might be able to see it a bit better. It's a sort of very bluey, blue and white. I'm not going to say gingham, but it's blue with sort of, you can see the white fabrics going through it. Anyway, it's very good for, oh, look, she certainly had a piece made up where she had, I think, turned it into a bag, but she had sort of appliqued embroidery, done some applique and embroidery on the front of it. So I just bought that. It was £4.50, and so I thought, well, I'll do that and I can see what I might like to do with that. but I'd never seen it before. So this is canvas, Essex canvas. I think she also had a linen, a brand type of linen. And then she had various colours. So she had the blue, she had some red, and I think also just some cream. But I thought, well, give it a go. I did think I could end up just doing some hexagons or something on here, making it as the front of the bag. But I probably won't, to be honest with you. I do like this more, actually, I think, for background, for sort of a plique picture of some sort. I don't know. We'll see. So that is all the purchases that I've made. Apart from, I do get a monthly package from Bigger Stitches, who specialise in Civil War fabrics. They're up in Scotland, and they just sent me a monthly package through. I think I get 5 or 6 fat quarters, and we're just working our way through a particular line at the moment, and then when we finish that line, we'll start working our way through another one. So that's always lovely to receive. So I think that's the end of the quilting. So we'll now go on to the knitting. I have fallen down the knitting rabbit hole quite significantly, which, as John said, is a little bit of a shame because I'm not actually very good at it. I completely agree. He has sat through me swearing and cursing my way through. But I have finally finished, or I finished it a while ago actually, my gorgeous sleeveless V-neck sweater from Gorgeous Alpacas. This was a kit I bought at a local craft fair, and the kit came with the pattern. I've had no end of issues, which is 90% of it is mine, 10% of it I would say is the pattern. I probably could have knitted about 3 of these in the time it's taken me to knit this one, because I have frogged every single section of it at least once. It very nearly ended up in the bin, probably a couple of weeks before it was finished. I was having severe issues with my cast off. Couldn't actually get it over the crown of my head. I think I sent Stitchy Rach a message going, that's it, it's going in the bin. And she said, just put it down, walk away, and then ask one of your friends to help, which is what I did. And so they did help very, very kindly. I've messed up a bit on this section here. I won't go into it. I mean, there's quite a lot of mess ups on it. I'm not going to go into it. I didn't get as wide a arm band as I should have done, because I think I had to redo this bottom section so much. So it's just lacking in wool. So I've only got sort of 3 or 4 rows of ribbing on here instead of, I think it asked for 5 or something. But that's fine. It does fit. It's been hanging in my wardrobe, and I do think it does look to have lengthened a little bit. So I might fold it and put it in a drawer, and you can just see a line across here. That is where I had a lifeline in, and I've obviously used too large a piece of thread, and it's distorted. Now I've only very quickly blocked this. It hasn't been properly washed. I've literally just dunked it for 15 minutes to try and see if I could get this out, and obviously couldn't. So I will give it more of a to do as and when it's finished. But yeah, so it looks more like a dress than it does a top at the moment. I think I need to take it off the hanger and possibly have it folded in a drawer, might be better. I think everyone does say that alpaca wool stretches, or can stretch. So yeah, so it is finally finished. It's too hot to wear it now, I'm afraid. But it does fit, The only thing I would say is the V-neck is quite high. And whilst I don't need a plunging V-neck, an inch lower would have been just perfect. But this was knitted bottom up. And as I'm learning from all the knitting and crochet podcasts that I've started watching, it is quite difficult to, where you're supposed to separate for the armholes, or, cast off stitches for the armholes and things. But you know what, it's the first jumper, first time I've ever made it. It's taken me forever. But it is done, and I will wear it. Oh, actually, I'll bring this back, because I'm going to jump a bit am I going to jump it? Yeah, I'm going to jump it here, because whilst I was finishing this off, I received a lovely, lovely happy mail from Stitchy Rach. So Rachel has a Flosstube, Stitchy Rach, and she was learning how to knit socks this year, and I think she's aiming to learn how to knit a jumper at the end of the year. And I was sort of saying, oh, you know, I want to knit socks, and yeah, I want to aim for a jumper next. And we met at the Essex Needles retreat this year, which was lovely, had a whale of a time. And she very, very kindly sent me this package through the post. Completely wasn't expecting it. But essentially, she sent me the complete set to knit a pair of socks. So, lovely card. Very kind note on the back of it. And I've started them. I'm sorry, I'll explain why later, but I have started them. But I received some Knit Pro 2.25 25 centimetre needles and some Knit Pro 2.25 double pointed needles. And I've received a ball of West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply in the colour Blackcurrant Bomb, which is this colour. So I'll show you that later. So it's this colour. And basically in the note she said I had picked this colour because I'm hoping that it will go with your jumper. Which, do you know, yeah, it does. It really, really does. You couldn't have got closer if you'd have tried, particularly not through a screen. It did just make me laugh though, because my mother-in-law always used to like to buy like school shoes for the children at the beginning of the year, or, you know, she'd take them to Marks and Sparks and buy them something. And she'd always say, oh, you look a right Bobby Dazzler in that. Don't you look a right Bobby Dazzler? And I did laugh to myself because I thought, oh, by the time I finished my socks and I'm walking down the street in my matching jumper and socks, I look right Bobby Dazzler in those socks. I did have to laugh, but it really is a very, very close colour match. So thank you very much, Rachel. I have already thanked her, obviously. And I'm sorry it's taken me so long to show this, because I think I received it fairly quickly after my last Flosstube. And I also received some of her floss drops, which I do use. I just haven't used those ones yet. So yeah, so that was very, very kind of her. So we're now going to jump back a bit to something else that, we'll come back to those socks, to something else that I have started and finished. Don't hold your breath. It's really not that impressive. So I have been watching / stalking a lady called Leslie Friend, who is on YouTube as a friend to knit with, I think. And she also has a Ravelry page, and she has a few of her own simple's rude, I don't mean simple, but, you know, just very basic, looks easy to knit, but equally lovely patterns. March, May, June. So I took a whole load of photos. Right, here we go. So the first thing I wanted to knit from this lady, Leslie Friend, was something called Toast, which are basically these sort of sleevelets. It's a bit like a fingerless glove. And you don't even have the thumb section. It is just a tube, and it's more that you wear them on your arm and you have them over your wrist. You can pull them up over your hand should you wish to, if it's getting that bit colder, but it's just, yeah, it's more just to have a bit of warmth here. And we were going away when we went down to Newquay, and I'd ordered something and it hadn't come through the post in time for me to knit on in the car whilst we're on holiday. So I ended up using the wrong yarn and the wrong size needles, but hey ho. So I pulled out of my stash this, which is King Cole Harvest double knit in the, it's just a nut, Morning Sky. It's 90% acrylic, 10% alpaca. Yeah. And I had thought that those toasts would be knitted in the round, which they are, but they're knitted on double pointed needles. So, oh, okay. Well, I thought I'll give it a go because I'm going to need to know how to do those for the socks. So I am, and obviously I was stripy yarn. I'm not good with stripy yarn. I've got these two things. So bearing in mind, wrong yarn, wrong needle size, I then tried to improvise and I added far too many extra stitches as I cast on, thinking, oh my God, they're never going to fit. They are a bit, so which is the cast on and that's the cast off. So they are a bit big. Doesn't matter. They will do. And if nothing else, it was convenient to be able to do it in the car and on the beach. Taught me how to use DPNs. Not a huge fan. I did think I'd got away with not too bad a ladder, but you can actually see, I haven't washed or blocked these, you can actually see all three sides where there are. I don't think that's hideous for a first attempt. But yeah, I didn't really overly enjoy them. So, and then where my cast on thing is, where the cast off is, it is quite tight. Cast on is quite loose, so I can't quite get it over my hand there. But yeah, so those are those. I will use them. I'll use them for walking the dog or whatnot. But next time, because I do want to make them, I do like them, I am going to buy the correct yarn and buy the correct needles. But they are a second finished object. And again, it was just a great experience using the DPNs for something very, very simple. You literally just cast on the amount of stitches and keep going for a certain distance and cast off. So that's fine. And then obviously, you know, I probably wouldn't use stripy yarn like this again. I think the problem is, oh, it does actually show you on the front, the sort of stripe width that you will get. But, you know, it was the night before we were going. I was in a panic because I had nothing to do in the car. And so I've done those. So those are the two finished objects. I then went on a bit of a yarn buying splurge because I've been watching all these podcasts and I want to make all these jumpers and do all these things. So the first thing I bought, this is what I had hoped to take on holiday with me because I had ordered, I think, the correct yarn and the correct size needles. And this is again from Leslie Friend, and this is called the Friend to Friend. And as I said, she's got a podcast friend to knit with, and that is, so this friend to friend. So it's this sort of, don't know really what you would call it. But anyway, it's just like a sort of half a jumper with no sleeves. It's a good thing for sticking on over the top in the autumn and whatnot. I ordered chunky tweed by King Cole in the shade Sky. Love this. I'm really, really happy with this yarn that I bought. I also bought the correct needle size, which is not that. Eight mils with an 80 centimetre because it's knit in the round. And I've been a very good girl and I have done a gauge swatch. And this is where I need your help. So I need a very little gauge swatch. But let me, sorry, there's stuff everywhere. So in the Friend, you're supposed to do a 4-inch square and you'll do 10 stitches and 16 rounds should come out at 4 inches. I did 10 stitches and 8 rounds. And I've got 3 by 2, so my rows are hitting gauge. My stitches, cast on stitches, are not. So my 10 stitches have only come to 3 inches, not 4 inches. But the height is correct. So the width is wrong, but the height is correct. And I don't know what to do. So you're supposed to knit it with at least 3 inches, or supposed to knit it with about 3 inches of positive ease. So I thought, well, that's fine. So it's given me a little bit of space. But then I was thinking, well, actually, if I've lost an inch per 10 stitches, by the time I get to 50 stitches, I'm going to have lost 5 inches. And yeah, I don't know what to do. Do I go up a needle or down a needle, or do I just hope that if I block it aggressively, although I don't want it wholly, I want it to be, yeah, what do I do? How do I get to the gauge that I need? So I'm an inch off, so my 10 stitches are only coming to 3 inches, not 4 inches. So if you could tell me what I need to do, that would be great, because I'd like to at some point start that and obviously not have the trauma of it not fitting as and when I finish it. So that is the friend to friend, because I've got another one that I need help with as well. So that was something I ordered. So I bought that from the Wool Warehouse, the yarn and the needle size, and the needles from the Wool Warehouse before we went. So then we were in St Ives, and I thought, oh, I'll just have a look, see if there's a yarn store in St Ives, and there is. And it's called the Craftree. And I decided I wanted to have a go at knitting this summer top. It is called the Home Camisole, and it is, so these are all from Ravelry. Home Camisole, and it is by Caidree, Caidree. And again, I am trying to be a bit more organised and careful with my shopping with regards to knitting, because I have already got yarn sitting on the shelves that I really don't know what I'm going to do with. So if I'm now going to a yarn shop, I am deciding on 1 or 2 patterns and going, right, let's buy the yarn for this and sort it out. So I decided I wanted to make that Home Camisole top because it looks quite small. Not too much knitting involved, so hopefully I'll be able to manage it. So I went into the shop saying, this is what I want to make. Can you help me organise what wool is best, please? And I have ended up with this. Is it called Sheepies? SCHEEPJES. And it's a merino soft brush. It is 50% superwash merino wool, 25% micro, 25% acrylic. And it's this sort of grey with blue flecks in it. Absolutely love it. And I've done another gauge swatch here. And this is supposed to be gauge swatch, 17 stitches by 27 rows, 4 inches. I, again, only did half the amount of rows because I'm lazy like that, really. But I have hit gauge, so I've managed to get the 4 inches across, and it's all right going up as well. So I'm really, really pleased with that. And this is, oh, it's so soft, it's lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. You can't see it particularly well. So at some point I will be starting that. That's not that. That is with that. So that is fine. So I don't need any help at the moment with that one. I forgot to say, sorry, for this, I think this is just 100% acrylic actually. No, sorry, so this chunky tweed that I'm using to make the friend to friend is 72% premium acrylic, 25% wool, 3% viscose. And then my final purchase, it's a big one, came from Exeter. So on the way back up from St Ives, we stopped in Exeter, and there were 3 yarn shops in it. I only went to one, so I'd spent enough money by then. But I went to a lovely shop called Along Avec Anna. Very, very friendly lady. I walked in and said, right, this is the pattern I want to make. Can you help me sort out the wool? And she only does merino. And she was like, yeah, brought it up on Ravelry, read through all the details, sorted out, make sure she knew what size I was wanting to knit. But, you know, couldn't have been more helpful. And so I ended up picking, is that jade? think it is jade. Yes, but it is basically this sort of green, sagey, avocado-y green. And I want to make with this the Tolsta Tee, because everyone is making the Tolsta Tee at the moment. So that is essentially the Tolsta Tee. Mine will not have the stripes in it. So the whole point of this t-shirt is that it's supposed to be a very, very basic raglan top-down t-shirt that you modify if you want to put stripes in, or if you want to do eyelets, or if you want to do whatever you want to do. I don't want to do any of that. I want to do the very, very simple basic version, which is why I bought some lovely, lovely wool. I think this will go with a lot of the stuff, a lot of things. And this is 100% merino, traceable, non-mulled. I know what that means, I just can't say it properly. It's 108 meters, 50 grams. And yeah, I'm very, very happy with it. So I bought the correct needle size, or the needle size recommended in the pattern. And again, I have reached gauge on the rows. I'm an inch short, I think. I'm an inch short widthwise. Now, I don't know if I'm just not stretching it out enough to measure it. I mean, I can make it reach 4 inches if I really pull at it. Am I supposed to really pull at it, or is it just supposed to be as it is knitting on the needle? So again, if I could have some advice, please. Do I go down, up? If I go down or up, do I go down or up by half, by 0.5, or by a full point size-wise? What do I do? But yeah, so those are all my yarn purchases. As you can see, I have just launched down the knitting right now. Just hope one of these days I can actually learn how to knit. Yeah, so I'm very excited about all of those when I eventually get them finished. So then we were heading off down to Margate, and again I had nothing to do because those were a little bit too, I'd done the gauge swatches, hadn't hit gauge, so I didn't want to start anything. The one that I did hit gauge with the home camisole, I need to concentrate on a bit. It's a little bit, I think it's difficult. It's just, I just need to sit and think about it. You know, I'm not a good enough knitter to just to be able to crack on with it. So I thought, right, I'm going to pull out the sock yarn that Stitch UH sent me, and I'm going to try and learn how to knit socks then. So I already, having done my toasts with a DP, or toast with a DPN, I don't really want to have to do socks with DPN. I am going to do it in the round on the small. And I decided to download the pattern that Caroline of Off the Grid Needle Arts, she's done a whole playlist teaching GigiR how to knit, and they've got various patterns, mittens, hats, socks. She's done in collaboration with a friend that you can download off of Ravelry for a very, very reasonable price. And I thought, well, I'll do that because, you know, you've got all the tutorials and all the rest of it. So I have started and I've got thus far, and I'm really not enjoying it. I'm not enjoying knitting. I mean, these, to be honest with you, these are they 2.25, I think? I mean, they scared the bejesus out of me when I opened the box because I thought I've got dental floss that's thicker than that, for goodness sake. And I'm just finding that I am constantly having to push it up the needle, and it's just, yeah, it hurts. Yeah, I'm just not particularly enjoying it, even though I've managed to get this far. And it was getting to the point where I don't really want to knit on it, but I better keep going. So I came home and I thought, right, I'm going to have a look, see if I can find a video on Magic Loop, because I've never done anything on Magic Loop. But I thought that will solve the tightness of all the stitches around here, and constantly, you know, every 5 stitches I'm having to shuffle things left, right and centre. And so I thought, I'll see if I can understand it. I'll give it a go. So I found Kay, well, I subscribed to her anyway, not that I've watched many of her videos, Kay the Crazy Sock Lady. And she does a very good tutorial, start to finish, on knitting a vanilla sock on Magic Loop. And I watched that, and it was a bit like a light bulb going off. It's just like, oh, I get it now, and I can completely see how the construction works. So with this, I would have to change to DPNs when I wanted to do the heel, which is fine, but it's just another faff and yet more for me to get wrong and not understand. And so I ordered some needles, good old Amazon, ordered some needles, and I am using, excuse me, I've dropped it. So this wool, which is Opal Pullover and Sock Wool Claude Monet, that I was given, very kindly given by Alison, Stitching Whippet. Sorry, I could remember your name, I just couldn't think how I was supposed to phrase it. Alison, Stitching Whippet, at the Essex Needles retreat this year. So it was her first time coming to the retreat. We always chat away on Instagram and whatnot. And she very kindly bought me this lovely ball of wool. So I thought, right, I'll leave this on here just in case this turns out to be an absolute disaster. And I will start on this and we will see how we get on. And this is what I started. So I cast it on the Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, yeah, just Thursday to Friday. So this is really only about 36 hours of stitching. 36, yeah, 48 tops. And I think I cast this on Sunday. So about the same time. And it took me about 3 or 4 attempts for the ribbing, because I kept on turning my needles in. I think I was almost turning them upside down and nearly inside out. I hadn't twisted it. It wasn't twisted. It wasn't quite right. So eventually I ripped it out about 2 or 3 times, went back to the video again and really slowly watched how she was turning her needles. Once I'd done that, absolutely cracking on. Love it. Really like the Magic Loop. So far, so good. Don't have any of the issues that I was having on these smaller, you know, sort of circular needles. And as I said, it's just going to make, for my brain, it just makes more sense for the construction. So that being said, I still wouldn't say I'm sold on sock knitting, but I'm going to finish these and then I am going to put these onto the Magic Loop and do those, because I really want to look like a Bobby Dazzler. But yeah, so those are my 2 sock knitting attempts. One which is stalled and one which is going okay. Whew, I think that's the end of the knitting section. It's not normally this long, I promise you. I normally, well, I haven't done very much before, so I normally only have 1 project on the go at a time, and that is what I'm going to try and whittle it back down to. But I wanted to learn how to make socks. That wasn't working, so I wanted to try this, and it's just like, right, I've got the balls of wool, let's just crack on and give it a go. So if you could please leave some comments about my gauge and what I do to sort it out, that would be really helpful. And then the last thing I have to talk about is my crochet. So I had planned on starting this blanket in the summertime, again because I had thought that I would be able to sit outside and do, so it's done in sections and then joined together, and I thought, right, rather than having a big blanket on my lap, I can just have little sections whilst I'm sitting outside. I had put off starting it for a little while because I was a little bit intimidated, but this is the Fireside Blanket from Attic 24. Bought this as a kit from Wool Warehouse last year, and decided to save it for this summer, to work on this summer. I've thrown all the balls, all the things with the, it's Stylecraft Highland Heathers DK is the wool that we're using, or the acrylic that we're using. And it is lovely. It is this. So you get some which are just plainer, and then you get some that have got lovely, lovely, subtle pops of colour in, variations in. said, you know, that, I mean, that was just, but yeah, so they're great. So they're great. Really, really loving the colours. I do find it's a little bit splitty and quite quick to just unwind. If you sort of pull it back, it just goes, ooh, I can't possibly stay wound up. But fortunately, I haven't had to do too much of that. And so you're essentially granny squares. So you start off circular and then it goes to granny squares. And the thing that I was feeling quite intimidated by was joining it, because you join it as you go. So you join it as you're crocheting squares. So I just sat outside one day with a scrap piece of yarn, got the pattern in my head, did the first one, then thought, well, I'll do the second one and see if I can join it. Because you can, if you wanted to, you could just do it all individually and then seam it all together. I thought, well, I'll give it a go, see if I can do it. And I can. And I'm so excited because this is the first time I've really just been able to read a pattern, because I'm much more of a visual learner. I've been able to just read a pattern and actually get it to work. Which is quite unusual for me. So I am, so far, I've got all of this done. So this is the first one. And then you work across in your little rows. And then the second row, you have these bigger ones interspersed, joining in the middle. I wouldn't say it's 100% how she was instructed it to be joined, but it is joined and it is working. And I'm absolutely, so I only started this last Monday, possibly, in the garden. I just sat in the garden and I've already, it knits up so quick, and crochets up really quickly. Really enjoying it, loving the colours. Yeah, it's all good. So I hope to get the middle section done by the end of summer. And then it actually has a border on it. I'll probably leave that until autumn time because, you know, it will then be a bit too hot to sit under. But yeah, so that is the Fireside Blanket from Attic 24. It's free. All the instructions are free on her website. So if you can't get a kit anymore, you can pick your own colours and follow it from her blog. But I don't know, I haven't looked. There might still be kits available. Excuse me, in the Wool Warehouse. But yeah, lovely. I'm just so excited because I've actually managed to follow a pattern as it's written and work it out without needing somebody's help, which is delightful. So that is it. That is now it. Dining room looks like a bomb has gone off in it. And oh god, this is a very long video, so I do apologise. If you've lasted this long, thank you very much indeed. If you know anything about knitting and can give me some advice on my gauge, please do. Otherwise, I will be back, I would hope, probably in about 4 weeks' time, so the middle of July, because then that will be it until probably middle to end of September, because we'll be busy harvesting and whatnot, and it's just easier. It takes quite a while to, I know I don't edit, but even just organise everything, writing everything down, finding it, taking photos, it does take quite a bit of doing. So yeah, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you've all had a fantastic 10 weeks since I last spoke to you. And I hope you continue to have some good weather and good times. Okay, take care. Bye.